Huge news from BMW. One of the most important SUVs in the premium segment gets the new generation. This is the all-new BMW X5 for all powertrains, petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid and all electric. And we're going to fill you in with all of the details. First one, the very important one for the iX5, the all-electric one, 140 kilowatt-hour battery. This will be segment and overall leading probably in the battery size. More details to come right now for all the powertrains and exterior, interior, all the features you need to see with Thomas and Autogefuehl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the front, which still gladly has a real double kidney, unlike the new i3, for example, or the new 3 Series. And then you can see this illumination here, which is also standard together with the matrix LED. Then these black elements, and you have the X-form daytime running light for the X5 then here. And when you hit the turning indicators or hazard lights, it's also in the same position. You could, if you say you don't like this X, then you could also basically delete the X form, that you just have these, diagonal bars. Would also be possible from the infotainment. But I think it's a very nice idea, and especially in the indicators, it looks really striking. This isn't BMW iX5, but the differences will be minor from the visuals. The combustion engine versions will have more opening in this area, where it's closed than in this case. And as I said, everything we tell you today will basically count for all the different models, and we're going into the details for all the different powertrains you desire. This is an M Sport design, so the base design will have a little bit less high gloss black, for example. Then side profile, we can already see these large wheels. These here are 22-inch. You would start with 21 and up to 23. These have aerodynamic inserts. The smallest ones also have that, and you have also different tire width. This is also important then for the EVs. So you would start with the 21-inch wheels with 255 in the front, 285 in the rear, and these here are 275 in the front and 315 in the rear. So if you want for the iX5 the most efficient setup, stick with the 21-inch wheels because they are also smaller. The length here, it's like a little bit longer than before. The majority of these couple of centimeters more went into the wheelbase, now at overall length of 4.99 meters or 197 inches. And most important change, wait a minute, where are the door handles? So this is, yes, let's say like a very clean design, and you might remember the Volvo EX60, and they had similar handles here. They are similar in design, but not the same in the technology. So all BMW X5 will get this, and let's say the con is that I don't have classic door handles, which I do favor. The pro is that in contrast to these flush door handles, they are already out, you can always grab them. And then there are two things. The base will be these handles, and then you just basically open them and pull them and just open them normally. And here the soft close is also standard for all models. So here they have upgraded the standard equipment. This specific vehicle, by the way, in pine gray, it's like a gray with a like green nuance, has also fully automated doors. And then here, I press my hand right there on the outside, and then the door opens completely. This is the special thought of, hey, let's combine these two features, and then you can also close them like this again. So you either put it on the outside, or you can open them like they wouldn't have the automatic function here on the inside. That would also work, and that actually works for all 4 doors. So I'm a little bit pro and con about this. It is on the one hand a spectacular feature, yes. I'm the fan of classic door handles, but then again, maybe this is at least better than flush door handles because you can directly grab it. I would probably order them then without the automatic door features. I mean, spectacular is here. When I hit this hotkey, I can also open all 4 doors at once. And you might know that we are also thinking, if we, for example, go all electric, might it be in BMW iX3, or could it be also an iX5 for us? So today's episode here is also for us exploring if this could be potentially our next personal vehicle. And then, of course, the question is the powertrain and so on, but the electric one is very interesting, definitely. Here you can see this iX5 60. Soon more to the details. Quickly to the design in the rear. Here also with modern signature here, very widely drawn tail lamps. And again with this new BMW Valet, this indentation here in the middle in the part. Then M Sport with high gloss black. This would be a little bit less high gloss black again in the base model. And once again, also if you have a combustion engine, it would basically look the same. And then some technology details already. The iX5 60 here, 4.7 seconds in the acceleration figure. So that's already pretty quick, pretty decent. And it has a battery size of 140 kilowatt hours net. That is impressive and should boost you to a WLTP figure of 800 kilometers. That's not the realistic one. But the range should be comparable to the iX3. This one is less efficient with a CD value of 0.28. However, it has such a large battery that it can score then similar values like the iX3 that you can realistically go also on the motorway 500 kilometers or 300 miles, then even at some higher speeds. We'll see about that and we'll keep you updated definitely. Adaptive suspension is standard, optional air suspension and rear axle steering. Rear wheels turn in the opposite direction, the front wheels 3.5 degrees. And charging for the iX5 here with the electric charging flap. Here the DC flap goes down automatically. That's very interesting. And it also goes in automatically again. That's a funny feature. 450 kilowatt DC peak, even should be a little bit more than that. And 23 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. So this 800 volt architecture is also very powerful in charging indeed. One more thing about the rear, by the way, I already want to show you before we go into the in-depth trunk review. Here, if you might notice, it looks really clean. Why does it look so clean? Because the lower flap here is gone. Before you could sit down in here in the X5, this one was folding down, and on the one hand I loved it because you can have a picnic here, sit basically down here like this. You could theoretically sit down here. It's not the most comfortable, maybe use a pillow or something. But then again, the access to the trunk is easier than now. So it has pros and cons. And it sometimes happened to me. There was this button was down there. And then sometimes you were sitting here and having a picnic and some drinks. And you turn maybe a little bit, look at this nice bird there, whatever, And then you were hitting the button with your leg. And then suddenly this was closing, the drinks were spilled, and this was coming down on your head. Then you had a big problem. So I was like fan and hater of this function at the same time, so to speak. Soon more to the trunk. Now more to the other technical specs. And I can already open the hood because then here in the electric version, you might know what's coming. Once, twice pulled, and here we have the front then. This is a pre-production vehicle, so this material finish will not be in the final vehicle. This looks a little bit cheaper right now, but it's not the final material that you will get as a customer. It will look nicer, and also from the inside, this will be this because that's a pre-production plastic now. So this is not the large trunk, but it fits a charging cable. That's about it. And there's also, in contrast to Mercedes or Porsche, no other more practical mechanism to open that one. So you always have to go there from the inside. So that's not the best solution, let's take it away, but it's a cheap solution. Here, by the way, I can also close it with pressing the BMW logo like you do with the Porsche crest, for example. As for the combustion engine side, you will still get the well-known 3-liter inline six-cylinder, here then with 400 horsepower, 5.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. Based on that one, there will also be two different plug-in hybrids. The plug-in hybrids now a little bit more net battery capacity at 26.5 kilowatt hours. So as just a slight upgrade there, but it's already quite good for a plug-in hybrid, why not? So two different horsepower specs there. There will also be the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel once again. And we also expect a pure combustion engine M performance model. Maybe that will be an 8-cylinder again. And what's also sure is, of course, then that we get here the pure electric, pure battery electric version, but there will also be a hydrogen version of the iX5. If that is really making sense, I'm not sure, because the infrastructure for hydrogen is, of course, this is hardly there, so that's the question, like, what's the use case for that vehicle? Yeah, very interesting that they made that investment. more will probably go than for the all-electric version. Here, of course, one electric motor in the front and one in the rear, and also the combustion engine models, they are also all-wheel drive. You can also find the separate data comment, and we also have all the facts and figures about the different petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid and all-electric version, all the details we know so far. It's always interesting just to read and clear the facts about this one. What I found good is that they picked this design that is not too extreme, that you can still see the double kidney, and that it still has the classic X5 size, you know, a size and also the classic shape. The door handles will be a different discussion with a rear separate hatch, or not separate hatch anymore, the issue. I think some hardcore X5 fans will not like this change. However, I see definitely the pros and cons there. But I can tell you there is more, much more coming up in the interior right now. I wonder, by the way, when the kids start playing then XXO or tic-tac-toe, you know, like XXO, you get that? I just realized, you know. Did you as well? Write me in the comments. This is, by the way, here the key fob. Yeah, that is the standard one. And yeah, honestly, I'm a little bit annoyed by the electric doors, but maybe others see it otherwise, you know. Yeah. Tell me what you think in the comments. Then here, also nice soft cover here. Then we have some microfiber insert at the inside of the doors. That's also beautiful. Also here, then softer, but could be maybe a little bit softer for your elbow. Automatic door closer. This is an option then. And then here, the standard window levers. This is in the control for the side mirrors and to open the trunk. Here, these gladly also move the controls for the seat like this. This is where you get to the seat menu. And this is interesting here. It looks like more like, I don't know, like volcano style a little bit. So it's illuminated from the rear, very interesting. Optional Bowers & Wilkins sound system, should be 22 speakers, you know, for additional sound experience. So there's a standard sound system, and then optional this Bowers & Wilkins sound system. And then we have the M Sport entry sill badge right there, and more Alcantara here at the dashboard. So in this case, a very beautiful design. Also here soft for the top dashboard. Steering wheel, always a lot of discussion since the iX3 and the i3 or new 3 series as well. Here this is the sports steering wheel. There is a base steering wheel, which also has the vertical orientation. Then there is the sports steering wheel, which also has an attenuation right here and has this vertical orientation. And then there's an M Sport, which has like spokes here and here and looks a little bit more normal. And depending on which one, in the iX3 and the i3, they are all animal-free. Here, most of them are animal-free, just the M Sport is not. There is no logical reason for that, because here, this is the animal-free steering wheel, and it feels very nice. It feels actually softer than the animal skin surface. So on a technology basis, it's a better material meanwhile, but not everyone knows it yet. That is also the reason why, in this case, this is the animal skin seat, but you would get like a similar color, also a bright color in the Veganza. There's the sport seat as base, and this is the multifunctional comfort seat. And this is both available with Veganza, animal-free, and with animal skin. And the animal-free material is even softer, because you can make it just softer than the natural animal skin. That's that's just technology advancing. And I'm also just here for you to tell you how it feels actually. But the base ergonomic of the seat is good in both cases, because like these multi-canto seats, they have more functions to control them and so on, and they're also like better from the seating depth and so on. So also looking forward to later find more different configurations to present to you. Then here, headroom, 189, 6 for 2. There we go. And you can also, of course, extend the lower area and so on, but they're actually very plush. So you have on the one hand the feeling that it's similar to the iX3, and on the other hand, there are some elements that are, you know, they try to elevate a little bit more. For example, that the seating depth is a little bit more, and that you can have a panoramic roof which you can open. Soon going to show that to you. One practical feature of the electric doors is that you can close it while just with pressing the brake pedal. This is, of course, like a handy feature to have, definitely. And here once again with the headroom, 189, 602, nice microfiber covering. And here we do have the a shade is available. Let me show you the shade first. So when it's like really hot day, then you can apply this real shade there. So this helps then against the sun. And I won't close it completely now. And then you can also, you have to wait for the shade to open first. And there we go. Then this is a real panoramic roof. This is also something that differentiates it to the iX3 where fixed roof or then the fixed glass roof. Here you have one you can actually open, but you see the opening itself is very limited. Is that really something that would be crucial factor then? Maybe. I mean, when you're stationary, and we have to test out like how silent it stays at which kind of speeds, for example. Yeah, this will be very interesting. Then we have a completely new cockpit here. So we have, as I said, the steering wheel from the iX3 and the i3. Also with these buttons on the steering wheel, which I'm not the biggest fan of, honestly. I do understand this logic of now that the infotainment system moves closer towards you. They can easily control the climate unit. I am a fan of physical dials, but this is at least close to the steering wheel here. Here you can also activate the seat massage, by the way, which is quite nice because really individual dots are being used here in the seats. And then at the same time, you move the panoramic vision, the digital instruments, further away, that they are in long focus. And that's a great idea. You can also additionally get a head-up display also built in this vehicle, but you wouldn't actually really need that. And passenger display is here optional. There's a large gap then here as well that I mean, I don't have to see all of the screen from my driver's part, but here you can also like watch the streaming apps. You can also watch YouTube, for example. So that's possible, but you don't have to use it. Then it would just be the screen right here. So that's actually totally up to you, the choice. Split armrest here could be maybe a little bit softer for the elbow. Some space underneath. Interesting new slate material. So this feels pretty nice. Looks also very fancy. Manual volume jog. This is then the shifting lever. And here when they hit the turning indicators, also nice visualization here, for example. And outside, of course, more spectacular. 2-zone AC, these are the air vents, and it is a unique cutout, yes, but why not? Here on the left side you have this door menu. There can also individually open and close the doors or the charging flap, and this is also the menu where when you start driving you can also deactivate this EU speed chime law thing, for example. And the infotainment is definitely quicker than before, like in the previous generation, and was also very important that you can individualize your driving program. Let's soon talk about that. But first of all, the rest of the middle console in the front. Here, inductive charging pad. There's also supposed to be some ventilation around this ring. And they also offer Android functions that you don't have this MagSafe, but the classic inductive charging pad, they say. Then here the 2 USB-C chargers right there, and cup holders here with the 4-dot design. Overall, of course, you feel that it is a larger, wider car in comparison to the iX3. Some similarities, yes, but then again, some of these features that go a little bit above that. So yeah, I really like the sun visors, that they're also like nicely covered here in this microfiber. It cannot be extended here. I wonder if there is an option for that. We have to check the configurator for that as soon as it is live. And the driver POV, once again here with the buttons that only appear when they are functional, when you have like the park button and so on. Design was not the biggest fan of it. Here's, for example, volume at the steering wheel as well. And then the panoramic vision is like here in the long focus. On the right side, you can use that, but you can also just make like a black area when this is maybe annoying you or something. And then important in the main infotainment system here, configure your personal mode, and then you can actually set, for example, finally, for example, sport steering response, but chassis to soft. And this is very important. It was not possible in the older versions of the older generations. And then here, plus minus for the temperature. This is how you activate seat massage. Then also here the seat cooling. Seat heating works at the same time, and also seat cooling for the Veganza material. That's very good. Seat heating is available as well. Yeah, the iX3 doesn't have seat cooling yet, but supposed to get it later, for example. On the left side here, this will be a hotkey or field for certain functions like doors, charging flap, and this also were supposed to deactivate the EU speed chime law, for example, then at a later stage. The menu is also good in the overview, and it's also very quick, so definitely faster than the generation before. And Leah has already installed some Apple CarPlay for us, so this is then how the CarPlay would actually look like, and that's also, you know, good integration. Then rear seats, the door opens fairly wide. Here also everything nicely covered here and so on, so good build quality. This is the manual release here also for the rear seats, by the way, if you need it. Otherwise here then the automatic one. Then here you have the manual shade, also goes quite far. Inside of doors, this is not the final material, but it will also not be fabric covered, but I've stored some interesting holder right there here, so you can attach this one, and you have USB-C charging there for the rear seats, and you can also put this up in like this, and then it's also like a MagSafe holder here, so interesting also for the phone. Yeah, why not? And then we have ISOFIX outside, it's hidden here underneath, so there we go, but that way it looks beautiful. And then we can slide on this cup holders, 4-dot design, that's also fancy, and we have something even more fancy here. This is an additional pillow, basically, for your elbows. Look at that. There we go. And then it's more plush. And I also have these, yeah, maybe for the front roll here. And I also have these plush pillows here. And then, yeah, you can make yourself comfortable right here. As for the normal legroom, when I'm driving, because they have good cutouts here, so then you still have you know, a lot of legroom there. I'm sitting pretty far behind because seats are quite large and plush, and I have long legs, so I sit more behind. But this is the legroom I still have. And then we have in the rear here, like is locked at the moment, but you also have seat heating for the rear. In the lower part, another MagSafe inductive charging. And the USB-C chargers were in the seats there. Headroom, standard panoramic roof. Here still some headroom left. This is all beautiful microfiber cover from the inside. It's like a jacket hanger here, and you also have door handles on for all 4 seats. And this will be practical also, you know, to hold on tight as a passenger when someone is maybe driving a little bit more agile again. Who might that be? Now to the trunk details and measurements. Towing, by the way, the X5 has always been a towing vehicle. 3.3 tons for the plug-in, which is leading, 3 tons for the pure combustion engine models, and 2.7 for the iX5. And the trunk or boot volume is 650 liters, with one exception. The plug-in hybrid has a little bit less, because there you don't have the same underfloor department. And here, top cover like this, yeah, it retracts back. This one still fits vertically underneath. And then we have here a width of, it's actually quite decent, look at that. This is here 1 meters 12 or 44 inches, so that's actually pretty cool. Then the length, standard length of 1 meters 5, 41 inches. Being the iX5 here, you still have then underneath some space right there. And this is also, you can see, you can store this one here for the doggos maybe, and this one you can also remove and store underneath. That's also a practical thing you have there. You can also lower it when you have the air suspension, for example. And you can also have a retractable towing hook right there. I can press the button. Let's see if it's automatic fully or semi-automatic. This is fully automatic right there. We just talked about the towing. Then let's measure the height here at the highest point. This is 29 inches or 74 centimeters. The thing I'm missing is remote unfolding or unlocking here. This doesn't work, you have to grab over and then fold the seats actually. So this should be in this price segment standard. The X5 had that and they removed it to the facelift of the last generation, sadly. And then here the total length is about 1 meters 90, 74 inches. So definitely still very good dimensions in that respect. And looking forward to this split hatch discussion definitely here. So yeah, again, you can have that pro and con. They also wanted to, like, let's say, make the car a little bit lighter and easier in that respect, and then they always take a look at, hey, what can we also save? So many features to discuss with the all-new BMW X5, and especially it's the good question, what range can we score with the iX5? We will test that for you very, very soon. What can we expect? If we compare the brother of the iX3, the smaller brother, a little bit less frontal area and also better CD value, so it's 0.24 in the best setup versus here 0.28. If we could also score like 20 kilowatt hours and more kilometers on the motorway at 100 kilometers, 60 miles an hour, then this could go 700 kilometers, like 435 miles. The WLTP figure is more than 800 kilometers, the official one. Realistic, also with maybe higher speeds, 100 to 120, 60 to 80 miles an hour, something like that maximum, then you can at least score, let's say, hey, I can drive more than 500 kilometers or 300 miles with that, to be sure about this, you know. And the real results at different speeds, real world range and so on, we will test them very soon for you. But we'll also keep you updated with all the other versions, like the petrol, the diesel, and the plug-in hybrid. So looking forward to your comment when we are able to test the X5. Which engine versions would you like to see? Which one would you prefer to see? Actually, which ones shall we cover? So leave the feedback in the comments right now, please. And if you're interested in the smaller brother, maybe a little bit less budget, then of course the BMW iX3. Otherwise, the main competitor to this one here is the GLE, or well, now also the EQE SUV, of course.